Welcome to the University of the Philippines, Diliman, College of Arts and Letters, Bahaginan. Launched in 2016, Bahaginan, or Sharing, is the college's research dissemination platform. In response to the many challenges of theater artists and educators in the time of the pandemic, the Department of Speech Communication and Theater Arts, in cooperation with the Office for Initiatives in Culture and the Arts, organized Emergency Theater and Performance. Through these brown bag sessions, theater practitioners and educators will share their experiences and insights on performance making amidst the lockdown and health crisis. The sessions will run from October 9 to November 25. I wish to thank our speakers for sharing their precious time with us. No online module can match their experiences in the theater. So join us as we learn, be enlightened and inspired in the wonderful world of theater and performance. And as we say in the theater when we welcome our audience, enjoy the show!
So, hello, magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Olivia Nieto. Kasama ko po ngayon ang mga estudyante namin sa theater. Si Camilo de Guzman, isa po siyang graduating BA Theater Arts student. Hi, Camilo!
Hello. So, hi, I'm Camilo de Guzman. So, in my 4 years in UP in Theater Arts program, I've also worked under Diliman UP. So, I've had productions, 6 characters in Search of an Author, The Dressing Room, Nana Rosa 2019, The House of Bernarda Alba, and Nana Rosa Rerun 2020. So, yeah. I'm also the overall PM and project head of E-ntablado 1, as well as the overall co-artistic director and co-PM of E-ntablado.
Salamat, Camilo. Kasama rin natin si Pia Cruz. Siya ay ating Associate in Arts student. Second year na siya. Graduating din. Hi, Pia.
Hi, ma'am. Hi, I'm Pia. I'm a second year in and graduating sana in the Associate in Arts Theater program here sa UP. So, I started my theater life back nung senior high school ako in Mint College. So that's when I really started taking theater seriously. I majored din in theater dyan, and I had a few stage management jobs there, production management. Then I was able to touch on directing then. And here in UP, I was able to direct a play for the Laboratorio for our class for our finals. And in E-ntablado, I was part of the core team for the first one, and I was a director for 3 plays. And for E-ntablado 2, I was co-artistic director and co-production manager next to Camilo.
Wow, parang hyperactive kayong dalawa. Ang dami niyong odds. Bukod sa required yung iba, tama ba ako? Karamihan ba ay volunteer work? Tama ba?
Ay, may... Well, yeah, especially right now, since these projects were actually made during the quarantine and when there are no productions to do, especially that right now we're supposed to be having AAT is supposed to be having productions under the LAM UP. I was supposed to be having Nana Rosa 2020, which got cut short. It was supposed to be my last DUP play. Then I would have had my other Dulaang Laboratorio productions, but none of these got to come into reality because of the pandemic. So that's why, yeah, and volunteer. We're the ones who are initiating these kinds of projects.
Ganda, kasi parang napapanood ko lang yung entablado sa Facebook. So, akala ko sa simula parang okay, siguro kasi na-trap sa bahay, na-lockdown. So, siguro walang magawa yung mga bata. And then eventually, tuloy-tuloy siya. Parang sabi ko, parang every week na kayo naglalabas. Tapos, sabi ko, daming wifi na mga batang to. Pero siguro maganda, Camilo tsaka Pia, baka pwede nyo kaming bigyan ng brief description. Ano ba tong di ba E-ntablado? Parang E-ntablado siya. Ano ba to? Siguro yun yung gusto mapakinggan ng mga manonood nito. Ano yung entablado? Paano siya nagsimula? Sino yung mga taong nagsimula nito? At para kanino siguro siya? Yun yung gusto kong malaman. Tapos may nabanggit kayo, siguro tutuhog ko na rin yung question. There's entablado 1 and merong entablado 2. So sabi ko, my God, may volume 2. Ibig sabihin, may pumapatok, may Tama ba ako? Baka pwedeng, siguro ganun yung kwentuhan nyo, kayo bahala kung sinong mag-start or makipagkwentuhan or kung paano nyo na-create. Sige. Thank you.
Okay. So actually, entablado, well, at first, there was no name yet. So it really just came out of, from me, one random night. I was watching an online reading of a VLF play. So I saw them doing an online reading, and it felt like it was real. It felt they were really doing a performance. Then I saw other theater majors, theater practitioners who that I have worked with, who were also doing online plays, online readings. This was yung mga actors, yung mga freelance actors, freelance theater people that I've worked with, and I got inspired. And at that time, this was at the beginning of the lockdown, like March, April. So we just came back from, I just came back from Nana Rosa. Pia just came back from working in the Dulaang Laboratorio play. And obviously, everyone was really excited, especially as theater students, for that SEM. I think AAT had the 131, right? Yeah, they had acting 1. That was the cut short. Ako, personally, I had directing 1. And I wanted to have a directing thesis. So it was very important to me, this class. But since it got cut, I thought that this pandemic and the lockdown would end. I thought, oh no, I need to still be practicing theater and directing. So that's where Entablado came out. It also came out because as theater students, we don't have that much connections yet to do like VLF plays, like readings of VLF plays, or we don't have the connections with the freelance theater practitioners that are already working to do those online script readings. So where is our outlet? Where can we do these? Like, there's no classes anymore. Those were supposed to be how we practice theater. So that's where Entablado came out. So middle of the night, I messaged all these people, like these random people from the theater arts program. Hi, are you busy, guys? Are you busy now? Like, are you busy during the quarantine? Because baka may ganap sila, baka they're really busy. So then that's where I got this core team. So the core team consisted of a few theater arts students, some also not from theater arts, because obviously theater's for everyone. And yeah, Pia was part of that. And then I pitched to them my idea. I pitched to them what I wanted to do, and they agreed to it. And we made sort of a plan. We talked about, oh, maybe we should do short plays. We should do these kinds of plays so that it'd be easier. How would we format it? We brainstormed all of that. And that's basically how Entablado came to be. And the E-ntablado, baka Pia could expound on the name.
Kung paano
Kasi we were
ganun. Okay.
we were thinking of a way, like, we didn't really have a name for this yet. Like, yung group chat namin, I think it was called, like, Online Theater Project or something like that. And we were like, guys, we need to think of a name na so we can start, like, doing posters and stuff. Tapos, super out of, di naman out of the blue, but I was like, how about E-ntablado? Now with the E, tapos dash, entablado. Because I coined the term from the term inuman, where kasi nga wala tayong hindi tayo makikita sa physical, so yung mga friends namin nagiinuman through Zoom lang, so ayun nga yung inuman. So I was like, what about E-ntablado? Tapos the E dash is, yung nakikita nyo din sa term email na electronic mail, so we're like electronic tablado, electronic stage. So I thought I said it as a joke lang. Tapos suddenly everyone was like, actually, it's not that bad. So it stuck.
Yeah. So E-ntablado, we always mix up how we're supposed to say it. Like, it's hard to say E-ntablado, E-ntablado. Yeah, so nag-entablado na lang. So yeah, and so we had 2 of these. The first one was in April 28 to 30. It was in the last 3 days because this was the time that President Duterte was still extending the quarantine and the lockdown every 15 days. So we thought, oh, we were hopeful that by 30, wala na, because we're going to be out of our houses na. And then these are, Entablado was an online readings of scripts. So online script reading lang. And then Entablado 2 was more of online performances of original plays, which we will discuss naman and go more into that. So, yeah. So, Pia, as your core team, how was it for doing Entablado 1?
So, yung process ng Entablado 1, it was really just, ayun nga, Kuya Cams put a group of people together and was like, okay guys, so just find as much plays as you can and then we'll go through it na lang. Plays that have been staged before because ayun nga, we didn't have much rehearsal time or we didn't have time to find playwrights and ask for original plays. So we did plays that we did before in schools. Some people got plays that they read for class, and then we just brought it together and we scanned through all of them, and then we took our pick. And we didn't really have a process for picking a director or an actor. It was just like the same group of people. Now, oh, I want to act in this, but direct in this. Oh, I want to. Ayun nga, I was a director for a few of them, but some people also doubled as actors for one play and directors for another. So, ayun, my repeating, I guess, of roles per person. So, we had short plays because, ayun nga, as Camilo said, we didn't have time to rehearse because we were still positive that the pandemic would end soon. So, we're like, okay, this will be like just like our last hurrah for our pandemic. At least we did something productive. Tapos, ayun, nag-extend na talaga. So, when we approved our set of plays, we contacted the playwrights and then we asked them if we could stage them online. And this was really experimental then because at the time there wasn't a lot of theater productions happening online yet. It was still very new, like with VLF, very new pa rin siya at the time. With Relive Your Passion PH, it was still very dito lang sa Zoom. So we told them we kind of gave them like their own playing field with whatever they wanted to do. But I think all of the plays just recorded here on Zoom. Ayun, with the record feature, that's all we used instead of going live. So, ayun, going to that, these aren't actually live. These were pre-recorded and then posted on Facebook bilang preview. So, it's really funny because whenever my friends watch, they message me and then they're like, "Hey, is this right now?" And I'm just like, "No, it's not. Sorry to break that illusion for you." Pero with the live kasi, we kind of wanted to market it in a way na theater pa rin siya because it's that fine line between theater and film. Na because nga it's technically the recorded video, so it should be considered a film, but we still kind of wanted to keep the theater aspect na live pa rin siya. So, ayun, the result of E-ntablado 1, Camilo.
So, the result of E-ntablado 1 was really great. I think it was nice, especially for our batch, like our theater students, to see like, oh, there's still theater, we can still do theater somehow. And yeah, like the live, actually, based on what Pia said, we had a tech rehearsal. Like the Monday of that Monday, and our shows were Tuesday to Thursday, and we were like in our first rehearsal, we're like, oh no, hindi kaya, we couldn't do this, and none of us knew yet how to do the live streaming platforms. I was just still experimenting, so it was just the Zoom straight to Facebook live, and hindi kaya ng internet. Like kaya ng internet mag-Zoom lang, but to do Zoom and live at the same time, it was too much na for our internet. So we crammed the recordings because we had to record, we had to do the talkbacks, and we had to edit it pa and render the video and then upload it. So yeah, and we got to do it naman. And we did it over the 3 days, and what was really beautiful that came out of it is that I told the directors to make it just script readings. Like, as much as, pero not cold readings. But in the end, we noticed that they weren't anymore just readings. They became performances that were done online. It was going on that on your imagination na lang na, oh, you imagine that they are in real life, that you're watching it in real life. It's not just anymore readings. You don't see, they actually embodied the characters. They actually brought in tech, they brought sound effects, they brought video effects, they brought like blocking in their own way. And what was great, because it wasn't required, but it came out naturally, I think, to our directors. So yeah, so for over those 3 days, we had 6 like 10-minute plays and 2 one-act plays. So yeah, and it was a good kind of a success naman. I think everyone was just really excited. But yung theater professors were like, oh wow, it's a nice project naman, and maganda yung project, maganda yung including the theater students and giving them a platform. So yeah, and then going now to Entablado 2. Entablado 2 was like, this was April. So mga end of May, I think that's when we started working on Entablado 2, because we realized, oh, there's still so much that we could do. There's still so much that we could, there's so many people that we could include in this. And this was also the time that I was an intern for VLF that time. Yeah, so I was also seeing the process of how VLF was being done, and I had to learn how to use OBS as an OBS operator. And I was like, and then when I went to Entablado 2, I was like, we're not using OBS because it's too difficult and I can't teach that to everyone. Because at the time, like, I remember it was really difficult. I couldn't use my laptop. I had to find another laptop to use. So yeah, we're like, no, we're not doing this live. And this was also the time that nawala na yung pag-asa na matatapos yung pandemic at that, like, very quickly. So we knew that we had a long period of time. So might as well do a production and do justice for it. Like, really take the time into doing it. We had a long period of time. We were saying, okay, let's give it like 2 months. Okay na yan, July. June and July, kaya na nila yan. Kaya natin yan. And what we wanted here, since actually, we forgot to mention, this project is actually under my organization, which is KALikha UPD, because I didn't want to do it. I couldn't do it like through Dulang Laboratorio or Dulang UP kasi ang daming processes there. And it was difficult for me. I didn't want to focus on making a whole brand new page for this. So, since as a member for Entablado 1, I put it under KALikha so that all we would focus on were the actual productions, and the publicity and externals I could coordinate with my org mates. And it was funny because actually I think only 2 of us were part of the org, but we brought in other people to join in the project as well. So yeah, so in Entablado 2, one of our principles in KALikha is student empowerment of empowering students, student artists, as well as student activists and advocates. And that's why we wanted Entablado 2 to be more inclusive to all students. Let's bring in more students. Let's bring in more student playwrights, student actors, directors, managers. And that's why we decided that we would do original plays by student writers. So these could have been staged before, or at least maybe staged in a class, or never staged at all, so that we could get different stories from these students and empower these students as well. And then after we did that, we also had a group of new managers, a whole different group of managers. None of the old core team were part because they were all tired. I remember they were so overworked because they were the core team, they were also somehow the managers, and they were also the directors.
Yeah.
And that's what I told Pia, like, oh, we should change that. Because they were like double, triple dessing at the same time. So, and what I liked about this is that we contacted our managers first rather than contacting a director first for the plays. And these managers, since I, coming from a management background as a stage manager and as an aspiring production manager as well, we don't have that much power most of the time. So I wanted to empower these managers. And when it came to picking the plays, they were in on the process as well. We wanted to give the managers their own artistic license and their own artistic freedom, because they're the ones who are going to run the show. They're the ones who are going to coordinate everything. So we wanted them to have something that they were themselves as theater majors were passionate about as well. And that's why, so when got the submissions for the plays, and we got all the managers together. Oh, let's discuss the play. What do you think about this? What do you think about it? Okay, let's talk about it. Would you like this play? Do you like this? Would you want to do this play? And throughout the process, there were some plays that they didn't like. Tapos they looked for another play. And which was great because we knew, like right from the start, from the very foundation of the production, that these were people who were passionate and were really willing to do these productions. And then after that, it was up to the managers to find directors and actors and dramaturgs, tech assistants and everything. And and another thing that we wanted to do is that incorporate advocacies. So in KALikha, we always believe in using our art for our advocacies as a form of activism as well. And that's why we wanted these plays to have a message and a certain advocacy. Then we could partner with different advocacy organizations so that they could help us create these productions, so that we would be we would give these advocacies justice, and that we would give justice and good representation to the people that we are portraying in our plays. So when it came to the production process and the performance process.
Yun. So, ayun, as Camilo said, because we gave so much time to this. Like, our calendar was super long for when we were planning out yung pre-prod, yung rehearsal time, and then yung production week mismo. So, ayun, E-ntablado 2 was from July 6 to 12. So, we had 7 plays. we had
Yes.
7 plays. We had 7 plays, and each of them really had their own team. So each of them had their own manager, their own director, their own set of actors, and the playwrights then. So one thing that I liked about E-ntablado too was the active role that the playwrights played. Because normally when you playwrights, their job would be done when they have the script, when the script is done na. Pero here in E-ntablado too, our rehearsal process was a little more different because playwrights actually had a say in what they wanted in their plays. They would collaborate with the director and with the manager. So parang naging assistant direct maybe in some sort of way, or co-director na din sila. And I think that's a really good way of empowering them then, as Kuya Camilo said, na we go for student empowerment here in KALikha and in E-ntablado. So ayun, with this super big team of for our prod, we also had a really big prod team as well. So we got people for marketing, we got people for publicity, and for our externals team. So it really was a really big production na, and like super legit na. And another thing that I really liked about this is that we got students from outside of UP. And sobrang nagulat ako because when we had an open call for scripts, there were like so much students who found it for some reason, who found their open call. And I was like, how did you find us? So it was just like, it's really nice seeing that there are lots of students who are as young as they are playwrights na, and then they already have, they have things to say already. And ano po ba? So, with the rehearsal process and the recording process, again, E-ntablado 2 was not live kasi na-trauma kami sa TDR ng E-ntablado 1. So, we gave the managers talaga the power to do whatever they wanted in their lives. So, one of our plays had like a horror theme, so there was editing for that. Another play, what they did is that they put the effort of providing each actor with a black backdrop, so they all look like they're in the same place. So it really was like an improvement from E-ntablado 1, where naka-costume lang sila, pero yung background nila, kwarto lang nila. So, yung mga managers namin in E-ntablado 2, they actually put the effort into ensuring na it looks real. So it was that extra step, no, of trying to be set designers na din and costume designers and directors. So with the recording din, some of them did it on Zoom. Other managers wanted to ask their actors to use their phones for a better like camera quality. Kung bit-up talaga yung play, some of them used cameras talaga if the actors had cameras. So I think what was really nice about that is that they were really dedicated to what they were doing. When we invited nga batchmates ko, actually mga managers. So when we invited them to become managers, they were like, what is a manager? And then we were like, honestly, hindi pa namin alam kung ano ba talaga ang manager in the sense of online theater. So we tried our best to give them like an outline, like this is what you guys have to do. But they actually like, I don't know, they kind of defined it themselves because they were able to actually step up and become managers then. So, ayun, with that, with yung super bongga na set and costumes, it really became an all-out performance. Though yung E-ntablado 1, parang hindi na nga siya naging staged reading, ngunit performance talaga. Here in E-ntablado 2, we really made sure, especially with the extra rehearsals, that with the time that was given to them, the actors also really made sure na performance talaga to, theater talaga to, and not just standing in front of a camera and saying your lines. Though there is a there are these like obstacles that our actors go through kasi some of them, they have a hard time kasi wala yung energy. Whereas if you're physically with a person and acting with them, parang yung energy nandyan because you guys are with each other. Pero kung mag-isa ka lang sa laptop mo tapos naka-zoom lang kayo, parang nawawala yung energy sa online presence. But they were actually able to pull through, which is something that I think was really one of the successful things about E-ntablado 2. So, yun.
Yeah. So, it really was about putting everything that we learned, like, of theater in our different backgrounds and our different experiences into this production. And I think the biggest thing that I was using was VLF because it was at the same time. And there was a time that I was kind of letting Tia go first because I was stressed with VLF. And I was like, okay, so that's why I know OBS. But you guys can look at the plays, you can get inspiration because VLF also, VLF as well as E-ntablado, they had their own definition of what online production or performances were. It wasn't it's based on the camera angles, like different camera angles to make it look like you're really looking at them on the theater stage, like in the round or something, or some were really like acting for a camera and really like for one person perspective, and they either will use like different elements, different sounds, different visual elements, or green screen, or all of these different things. So I think that's what made E-ntablado 2 so different and so diverse, because it was really something that there was no set guidelines of this is what online theater is. And because of what we learned from all of this, like obviously as students, we were all still learning in this. As what Pia said, what is a manager? And ako din, like, so why did we name it as manager rather than stage manager or production manager of that team, because as it's so blurred already, and especially coming from like Dulaang UP, for those of us who have worked in Dulaang UP for a long time, there's really a set thing to do. Like, you know what your designation does. You know what the production manager does somehow. You know what the stage manager does. You know what the props team, what the costume teams, what the marketing, publicity, sponsorships team do. And here, and of course that's good because it removes the chances of being overworked and being abused and doing more than you're supposed to. But there comes that time that you end up not thinking about the other parts, the other aspects of the production. So, and that's what I realized that's what we realized in doing this production, E-ntablado 2, that you really have to understand every single process in theater. You have to work in every single designation. You have to know what the playwright does, how their process. You have to know how the director directs, or if you're a stage manager, you need to know what the actors are thinking or why they can't get their blocking. I remember for Sir Ishinga was talking about like, oh, the actors are not stupid, they're just preoccupied. Because as the stage manager, ano ba yan? Why can't they get their mark? They can't get their line. My gosh. So yeah. And here, and you have to know all of these things. You have to know everyone's process. That because as a collaborative, a theater as being a collaborative process, highly collaborative, that you can never do it alone. You need to see all of these, and you need to understand all of those. And here, what I knew from DUP, where most of my formal training was, all of these were blurred. I think what it meant to be an artistic director, a production manager, all of it became very blurry. And what it meant to be a stage manager, what it meant to be an actor, I think even for them, it was I remember in our post prod for each play, they were like, ang hirap maging actor kasi naging set designer ka rin, nagiging stage hands ka rin, naging props. Because when it's in the actual theater, diba, usually the props, naka-prepare na yung props, dapat nandito, tapos the actors will just know where to get it, or the costumes are already prepared. But here, you're on your own. And and I think what was also great about this is that everyone has their own artistic license and their own artistic freedom. That you can do whatever you want because you have to make do with what you have. And as what Pia said, the managers also had to become somehow directors. Like, oh, baka you could use these costumes, baka you could use those things. Oh, ipapadala ko yung blanket ko para sa backdrop. or pupunta tayo doon para mag-green screen, ganon. So, all of those specific roles. And I think we said that E-ntablado 1 was more of experimentation. So was E-ntablado 2. We're still experimenting. We are still figuring out what online productions or what online performances really mean. So there was not really that much guidelines or rules or rubrics for these plays, as what Pia said. And that's where we got to see the diversity. And we got to see them go into their own lanes and to go to their own, for them to grow on their own. And other than this, I think what we really wanted to highlight, other than student empowerment and other than learning from what we learned from formal theater training, were highlighting advocacies. So, and really making plays that have messages for people.
Yeah. So with advocacies kasi, because ayun nga, we're under KALikha. So arts and activism really is like, that marriage of both is really one of our strong points. So with E-ntablado, we really wanted in E-ntablado 1 kasi, sorry, I don't think Kuya Camilo mentioned na it was a fundraiser kasi for Ysobel, which is an institutional response to aid families who were victims on the war on drugs. So it became a fundraiser then. So we had a bank account, tama ba Kuya Cams, in E-ntablado 1, and then they were like, pay what you can if ever you want to donate, but the show is free naman din. So it's just one way of ayun, that marriage of arts and advocacy din, and being able to serve them through theater. So with E-ntablado 2, we didn't have a fundraiser naman, but we had per play we had one advocacy. So we had plays that tackled LGBT themes. We had plays that tackled child abuse and mental health, sexual harassment, some dark stuff. What I really liked about E-ntablado 2 was that we had talkbacks after. So basically, we had talkback sessions after the play. We would have a Zoom with the director, with the manager, the actors, and our partner organizations. So
And the playwright.
Oh, and the playwright, sorry. And the playwright and our partner organizations. So we got when we had our partners, there would be representatives from those partners, from those partner orgs to kind of shed light on the topic. So what was really good about this is that the people who see E-ntablado, the people who watch the plays won't leave just thinking na, oh, what a nice play that I just saw. It's just a very, very shallow lang na kakakita ko lang ng play, yun lang. But I think we wanted to take the extra step to actually sit them down and talk about them na, oh, this is a reality. This is what's happening right now. So what was good about that is that we were able to educate them, but also provide services for them, especially for plays that had really dark themes. We had hotlines for people to call. We provided psychological first aid for people who maybe were triggered or who wanted to talk about it nga din. So it's taking that extra step of not only educating people, but also serving them. So another thing that we wanted to fight for is the preconceived notion about theater, because before quarantine, I think people thought na elitist lang siya, pang social lang, it's too expensive, mag-movie na lang tayo, yung mga ganun, no? So it's really closed off for some people because people think that theater is just for a certain kind of person, just for like a classy person na might, I don't know, yung social, no? So I think what was good about online theater was that it was on Facebook lang, and almost everybody has Facebook. So we were able to really reach out to a number of people. And kahit na hindi to traditional theater, we could at least give them a taste of what theater is like, no? Because theater, should be for everyone. It should be for everyone in the terms of audience and also in the terms of people joining or people working in theater or acting or directing. So, sorry. So, we chose advocacy plays then based on theater trends. Hindi naman yung pauso na, oh, I'm fighting for this advocacy para makakuha tayo ng attention. Pero I think it's a really important thing na theater is really vocal in terms of advocacy, even before online theater, especially in Dulaang UP, Dulaang Lab. A lot of our plays really do bring up certain advocacy, certain societal issues. So why not bring it to online theater where we do have a bigger audience because it's accessible by everyone, and bring up nga those kinds of plays. So, yun. So, bridging to that, because it was super accessible, like anyone can see this, and our plays did have some super dark themes. One of our obstacles then was with the really tricky thin line of being very of being sensitive and being correct, no?
Yeah, and so I think it was difficult. That's why, as Pia said, we had a lot of partners. That's what our externals team had to focus on, getting the correct partners for these plays. And it wasn't like other orgs or other projects that for one whole production that we would have this set of partners. It was really per production in E-ntablado 2. They had their own set of partners because we needed the partners who were going to be able to educate the teams, who were going to be able to educate the audience as well, and who were going to help us bring out the best messages in these plays. And that's why we had consultations with experts. Like, even if they were not partners, we had to consult with, for example, the LGBT themed plays. We had to talk to those who are really active in the LGBT advocacy, in the advocacy work, as well as there was a play also about being transgender. So we also had to consult with many transgender advocates and actual transgender men and women. So we could actually give justice, because I think that's the problem a lot of times with advocacy plays, that they don't get good dramaturgs, or they don't get good experts or consultants to help them with these. And I saw that, and I think my experience with this was also when it came to like Nana Rosa. We had so much consultations and so much workshops and processes to help the actors, to help everyone understand. Like, you couldn't just do this play without understanding the context of what was happening. And because it's very important, and that's also what I learned from Nana Rosa, and bringing it here was helping out the actors, the directors, and the managers, everyone who was part of it, and checking up on their mental health, checking up on them, because it's tiring, it's difficult to portray and to watch these plays over and over again. I remember, oh my gosh, in our first preview for one of the for one of the plays, Pia and I cried. We cried. We were like, we didn't know how to give our notes after, because we were so emotional. It was really so difficult. Yeah. And then we watched it again before we recorded our talkback session, and we still cried. And then on the day itself, when it actually premiered live, we were done na, it was uploaded, we were still crying. It was so difficult. And for us who just watched it once, how much more for those in the play who are watching it every single day, and who may also have their own experiences with it, and who have to embody and bring that character out, and have to imagine or put themselves in that character. That's why KALikha was actually very helpful, making sure that, you have to make sure that they have psychological first aid. You have to make sure that these hotlines are ready for them, as what Pia said. And not just for the actors, not just for the people in our production, but also for our audience. I think that was what we were doing also during the plays themselves. We were seeing if anyone was getting triggered, if anyone was having a hard time watching it, and we kept repeating, if you feel triggered by this performance, please turn it off. We had our trigger warning as the pinned comment. We had the trigger warning as the first thing that you see on the page, so that, especially with it being public, that's another thing that could cause a problem. Because, for example, in theater, before they enter, you could have a lot of signs that say, this is triggering, viewer discretion is advised. You could remind them again and again. You can have it in the show announcement. You could also filter the audience in real theater, because you could have age restrictions. But here, the only age restriction is Facebook, which is 13 above. But we know that that's not even followed. Like, you can get away around that. So we had to take care of one another. And I remember there were really people that got triggered, that I told them, stop watching muna. Like, stop watching. I will contact my friend. Please contact her. Here's her number. Talk to her. And she will give you psychological first aid. Because we had to be sensitive. And we knew we had the duty as theater makers and people who were bringing these plays to the public eye, that we had to take care of everyone involved. And yeah, we had consultations with experts. We had And we needed help from the whole team to do this. And going back last lang before we go to the next point, what Pia said about using our platform in theater and using these plays to bring messages was very important to us, especially during this time, because this was when the anti-terror law was passed, and this was also when the ABS shutdown happened, like right in the middle of it. Yeah. I remember we were thinking about moving the plays, one play, because it would be when the anti-terror law would pass, or like it would be, I forgot. There was something happening on that day.
No, kasi...
Yeah, because it would be the day that if President Duterte didn't sign it, it would go into, it would already become a law. Tapos, he signed it naman. So, we had to add it. He signed it early na. So, we added, if you watch E-ntablado 2, we had a statement, a video statement from different members of the team, of all the different teams against the anti-terror law. And then in the smack middle of the production, like September 9 or 10, that was when the ABS-CBN shutdown happened. So we also had to include that because we had the duty. We have to use our platform to talk about these relevant issues. And actually, that's something that we had. That's why if you look at our Facebook page right now, it's not there. The videos aren't there anymore because once the anti-terror law was implemented or was now it could actually do something, we were all scared. It was very difficult. Like even if you weren't in that actual video statement, we had children who were part of the production, who were part of E-ntablado. They were in the same video, and you don't know how our government could use this against us. So we also had to take care of one another. But don't worry, once we set up our YouTube channel, we will upload everything again. So yeah. But obviously we have to, when it comes to talking about these issues, when it comes to talking about social issues, and not just the themes of the plays, but the statements that we had to make sure that everyone was safe. We had to take care of everyone in our team. So yeah, there's a lot that we learned from these productions. I think that's why we're like tired right now, and we don't know how to start our third one because, like, how do we make it different? How do we one up ourselves? Because obviously after Entablado 1, ang short lang, ang content ng ginawa namin. So like, Entablado 2 was really the full blown. So, yeah.
So I guess with the hope now the things will go back to normal. One of the things that I kind of want to incorporate sana when we do live theater into our theater companies, into mga theater orgs namin is the creation talaga for more opportunities for students who want to do theater. Because as of now, theater student nga ako, pero wala pa rin akong hindi naman wala, pero wala akong masyadong opportunities. No, and so ayun nga, theater student nga ako, pero paano pa para sa mga students na hindi major ang theater? So it's just one of the things because I see a lot of people my age, maybe younger, teenagers and kids who really like theater as yung nagwo-workshop sila because it's a way of expressing themselves in emotionally, mentally, and in theater live, it's also a great way then of coping with the mental and emotional weight of the pandemic. So I really think that we should be giving more opportunities for students because students really have so much to say, and that's something that E-ntablado to prove talaga na students really have something to say, so why not give them the platform for it? So yun. Another thing is when something that I want to apply then sa live theater when things go back to normal, mga 10 years from now maybe. So, joke lang, So another thing is ayun din, breaking the stigma that theater is inaccessible. I really want to, I know a lot of companies are trying to fight for that din, with maybe discounting their tickets, trying to market talaga to people who don't know what theater is. But I really want to break the stigma na pang social lang ang theater, na theaters for a certain group of people lang. But it really isn't. Theater really is for everyone. As we see with, especially Philippine theater now, ang daming plays na nare-reflect sa mga nangyayari ngayon. So why shouldn't that be relatable, di ba? Why shouldn't that be relatable to only a certain group of people? A classy elitist group of people pa talaga, when a lot of the plays we reflect are middle class, low class people. So why shouldn't it be relatable? Why shouldn't it be for everyone? So that's something that, personally, that's something that I'd like to incorporate when we go back to our new normal, sana. Yun.
Yeah, like, I think we showed that we could publish and put online and make it accessible to everyone, make theater plays accessible, not even just like Dulaang UP, like Broadway plays, West End plays, it's possible pala eh. So why haven't we been doing this? Because theater can't be, as much as we want to say that it's accessible to everyone, it's not. Especially like with international. Like at least movies, they can release them internationally. There's movie theaters, there's there's streaming platforms. But how about theater? And it's not going to affect, for me, it's not going to affect the sales, like when we go back, because it's not the same. Live theater will never be this, like online recordings or online performances will never live up to the feeling of live theater pala. So like, why can't we make it accessible to everyone? And I think for me, coming into my 4th year theater and planning my career and planning having to work and stressing about where I'm going to work after I graduate. You really have to know all aspects of theater. Knowing one part of theater will never get you anywhere, especially with how the skills you learn in theater don't just apply in theater. They apply everywhere. That's why a lot of, I think, theater makers are like freelance, because there's really a lot of things that you could do. You could go into management. You could go, like, not just stage management or production or theater management. You can go into other management type of jobs or careers. You could do performances, any type of performances, whether it's like for theater or for for film, for TV, for anything. Also tech design. Oh my gosh, tech is the new what if people got into tech, my gosh, I feel like ang daming pera. Especially right now, ang daming pera sa tech, sa OBS operators. So, like, that's where we're going eh. So, it's not just having a holistic development and having holistic skills, a good amount of skill set that you learn in theater will help you in the long run and will help you in your career in theater. And it will help you make better productions and understanding your audience, like knowing all those different aspects, understanding your audience, understanding the advocacies, understanding the messages of the play, understanding how to take care of your actors, your production team. All of these things you have to know, because if you really want to be a good theater practitioner, you have to know what everyone is going through. You have to know what to take into consideration, because you, as a highly collaborative process, theater can never be done alone. Even as we're online, it's very difficult to do it alone. So you also need to develop those skills of working together and collaborating with one another. So yeah. And I think just to conclude, how long have we been talking? I think just to conclude, like, Philippine theater is still growing. We're still experimenting. We're not at the same level like yet, like tech-wise and everything. But we have the drive to get there. Sana we all want to be at the same level of Broadway and West End. We want to bring that here also, all the materials, all of the technology, and sana the union, the theater union as well. Yeah. There's so many things that we could do with Philippine theater, and there's so much more that we could explore. And I think this is a good way to, yeah, as what Pia said, to bridge the gap, bridge the divide with, with those who still want to experience theater, and to also show that theater is for everyone. And I think for me, my last na, tapos I'll let Pia talk, is online theater is still new. There's it's really, this is theater. No, this is not. This is music video. This is a skit. This is like, we're all on a new platform. There's no guidelines.
Camilo, pwedeng ulit lang yung the paragraph you were saying. Sorry, hang yata at some point.
Okay.
Final point mo. So sorry. Parang naka-pause na sila. Your final point lang. Sorry. Thank you, Camilo.
Okay. So, like, online theater is still new. It's all experimentation. There's no guidelines. There's nothing to impose on people, because it's up to you. It's up to us how we want to define theater. If we want to focus on the live aspect, then focus on that. If you want to focus on how you portray the story, then focus on that. But it's up. I think that's what we have to stop doing right now, is gatekeeping what theater should be. Like, there are a lot of theories, but we're in a new age of theater, and we have to stop. We have to stop gatekeeping, and we have to keep on continuing growing and making mistakes and experimenting and trying these different things out, because theater will opinions of what theater is and what it should be. But that's what makes theater great, because it keeps developing, because it keeps progressing, and it keeps becoming relevant in the times that we are in right now. So, yeah.
You said everything I wanted.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Alright, to close lang. In theater in UP, we have a class that's basically based on the debate on ano ba talaga ang legit theater, like yung legitimacy of theater. And honestly, one of the things that I took from that class is that parang there shouldn't be any standard for it. Because as we study what it is, especially in Philippine times, as we study from what theater is since the indigenous times and see how it evolves, I don't know, it's just, there's always going to be that, I don't know how to say it. Nawala na ako. It's going, in theater kasi, as we see it, as we watch it evolve, we can always see that its purpose is to kind of mimic what's happening right now. Ayun nga, in terms of mimesis, it's to adapt, it's to reflect what's happening right now in society. So if we can always trace it to that, because ayun nga, it's a way of being relevant for people to want to watch it. It doesn't matter if it's like super advocacy na para sa bayan kind of play, or a super chummy na pang entertainment lang, but it will always be something that's relevant. So I think that's something that we really took into online theater, because it's extremely relevant right now. Online theater nga siya, because we're adapting to the environment, the factors that this pandemic has given us right now. So honestly, nawalan talaga ako ng hope when the quarantine started, well, hindi naman, when the quarantine extended, and I was like, oh my God, mga 2 years pa ata to, next year pa ata to, paano na yung career ko bilang theater maker? Wala na talaga. So, sometimes nawawalan ako ng hope. Pero when I look at the students, actually right now, ang daming theater prods na nangyayari sa UP alone. Actually, sa mga batchmates ko, ang bida-bida nila eh. So, ang dami nilang ginagawa. So, that really gives me hope. And it kind of just reminded me of the fact that theater is always adapting. And I think it's really great na theater will find a way. Ang corny, pero that's something that I saw it. Something that you can actually see na kahit na physical yung traditional theater, physical yung mga traditional ways of theater, what I like now is that we're adapting to that and taking on a new definition of what theater is. And I think from there, it will just keep growing and growing and growing naman din. So as what Kuya Camilo said, ayun, we're just a few months into quarantine. So a few months then into making or defining what theater is and or what online theater is. And parang wala pa ring definition hanggang ngayon. Because, as he said, it's still very new, it's very experimentational, there's experimental, wala pang rules, wala pang standards na, oh, hindi yan theater eh. But, how would you know? Because we're just starting. So, ayun, I guess, like, just a word of encouragement para sa mga gustong maging theater maker, or gustong mag-express through theater, through online theater, it's really a valid form. Because some people think na, oh, it's just, online lang yan. It's not theater. But it really is turning into a valid form. And I think people should know that then. Yan.
Wow! Bago ko sa entire TED Talk nyo. TED Talk. Siguro ang tanong ko, kasi nga, syempre, di ba, parang nakarely yung entablado sa availability ninyong lahat. Ngayon kasi bumalik na kayo sa classes. Yun yung una. Diba? So, ang daming requirements. Graduate pa kayo pareho. So, kumbaga, tinatapos. Yun yung una kong tanong, siguro, paano nyo na ma-manage yung time? Ko-continue pa ba ang entablado? And siguro ay kaka-announce lang ni President Duterte na ang state of calamity ay hanggang 2021. So, we might be in this for the long haul. So, parang mahaba-haba pa. May ganun bang, kasi dati wala talagang plano sa entablado eh. May ganun bang plano na pang long term na to? Because, may walang official actually na org sa UP. Yun yung nakikita ko eh. Kasi we have dula ang UP, pero ngayon kasi naka-off season. Eto na ba yung kumbaga magiging outlet or parang magiging experimental platform ninyo as students or at least pangtanggal lang ng stress? Siguro ganun yung gusto ko malaman. May susunod pa ba sa entablado at kakayanin pa ba ng mga katawang lupa ninyo?
I don't know.
That's it. Secret.
When we had our post-prod, me and Camilo, when we had our post-meeting lang about everything na nangyari sa E-ntablado 2, one thing we really focused on for E-ntablado 3 sana is my batch. Is yung batch ko because for us to transition to BA, we need to have enough credits for the track that we want. So we wanted to focus on the students who want to be performers but are taken for production na. So that's like wala naman tea dyan, wala naman shade, but it's just it's one good way na ayun to be able to empower students, number one, but also to help them with their course and help them with their grades. So that's one thing that we wanted to do for E-ntablado. We did consider if we wanted it to be an org, but it's still in the works. Yun lang. That's all I will say.
Okay. Well, like time management, I don't think we would all complain about time when we were doing all of these. Like, it took up a big chunk of our time. There were a lot of sleepless nights also for us. Like, just PNI calling, like, oh no, we're in the pubs. We have, oh no. Tapos, we had a day of like 5 talkbacks or something.
Yeah.
So it really takes a lot of your time. But I think what drives you is your passion for theater. And it showed in E-ntablado too. And both, actually. Because this is not required. And it takes up so much of your time. Especially when you're supposed to be at home lang. When you're supposed to be just, I don't know, kind of relaxing. Or you can do whatever you want. But to put yourself back into a production, it shows that there's nothing that your passion for theater and your love for theater, there's nothing that it can overcome. So like, it will overcome all the obstacles. Like, even in live theater, that's something that we have. Like, we have everyday rehearsals. We have, like, we spend like 6 to 8 hours rehearsing or like doing prod work. But we do it because of the love for theater. And I think that's what drives the time management. And, oh my God, with E-ntablado 3. Why is everyone mentioning this?
Asking us.
Oh my gosh, everyone's asking. Because I think, as what I said kanina, na it's really about what can we do, what more? Like, how do we improve? How do we make it new and relevant again? And I don't know if we can do it, or maybe it's in the works what we're gonna do for the 3rd installment. But I also wanted everyone to get into classes muna, so that we all understand our workload and we could somehow develop our schedule, develop how our working strategies are, so we know what we can add on to that pa.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want also to start before classes started. Like, everything in our org, like yung mga big ganaps, I wanted it to end before classes started. Because everyone is going to have to, adapt pa to online remote learning. So with this, we want everyone to adapt muna. We want everyone to, pati kami, like, we need to adapt first to our workloads as graduating theater student with full load, na before we can really see, oh, what can we do? What can we add on to this? What can we take on pa? And also with what Pia said, I really wanted, if ever, this theater organization to be is something that will be there for the students, as we said, to empower the students, to give them the platform to experiment, to make mistakes, to try new things, without the fear of being yelled at in Dulaang UP. Char. Or that's what Dulaang UP is really like that. Like, we really have that intense training. But there's not much opportunities for us to really experiment and try things on our own, or not just fail on our own without major consequences. So I think that's what we would want. Whatever, even if it's not E-ntablado, even if it's another theater org, that it's for us theater students, that it's something that will help us, as what Pia said, get credits, to help us be better in Dulaang UP as well, so we're at least trained a little, and for us to find our own way and our own style in theater.
Yeah. As your previous program advisor, natutuwa ako. Una nyo ang classes. Yes. And siguro, thank you muna. Siguro gusto ko magpasalamat sa inyo ni Pia, kayo ni Camilo, for sitting down with me and really, parang pulang tayo, tapos at least tingnan natin ano ba tong nabubuo nyo na entablado. Merong time na maging self-reflexive sa ginagawa nating art. Kasi tama namang dapat may panahon ka para evaluate yung ginagawa mo. Siguro gusto ko lang ng quick reaction doon sa mga sinabi ninyo. Ang nakuha ko kasi, ang ganda ng community na binuo ninyo. So, nagsimula siya na community na quarantined student artists na of course, you were anxious, nag-stop yung second semester, tapos, nandoon pa yung fire, nawala yung, kumbaga, tuloy-tuloy yung momentum mo because you were doing other productions like Nana Rosa, tapos biglang nawala. Tapos biglang, hala yung body mo, yung sistema mo hinahanap, iyak. So, you looked for people na may ganun din. Yun yung pagkakabasa ko. Humanap ka ng ganung tao na naiintindihan din yung nararamdaman mo during the quarantine. At maganda na available at may wifi sila to do that. Siguro yun yung maganda rin because dahil nga may momentum or at least may gusto kayong gawin, parang, sige, ituloy natin, tas mga pa muna tayo. So, for a time, it was just a community na parang, sige, wala naman tayong ginagawa, another 15 days pa naman yung lockdown. So, sige, mag-ano pa tayo. So, kumbaga, nag-a-adjust kayo sa nangyayari sa labas. There was no long-term plans for it na parang, sige, gawin lang natin para hindi tayo maburyong, kumbaga, sa bahay. And then, eventually, ang nakikita kong form ay biglang nagbago na parang, ang tagal pa nito. Siguro, sige, gawa tayo. Sige, maghanap na kayong play. Parang nakikita ko yung ganun. Parang naghanap kayo ng structure na nanghihiram na kayo sa theater. Na, sige, parang siguro kailangan may manager, kailangan may director, tawagin na natin yung mga playwrights. And eventually, nakita nyo rin yung favorite ko kasing term na to yung theater ecology na parang, teka, parang may maliit na tayong community, parang may hindi tayo nasisilip. Baka kailangan din natin ng tulong because we don't know how to do this on our own. Kaya may mga experts kayong tinawag na hindi namin alam kung paano ba magto-talkback. So, inallow nyo yung isa pang community na pumasok sa community ninyo para tumulong doon sa mga pagkukulang ninyo at hindi kayo expert or hindi kayo nagsispecialize in. And eventually, maganda rin dito ay you got the support of KALikha. Thank you very much for KALikha. Kasi may another community that supports you and really helped you frame siguro yung entablado na from buryong students na bored lang sa bahay and then you suddenly have that urge na napapanood nyo sa news, ito yung mga announcements, alam nyo naman nangyari sa Pilipinas. Tapos parang, teka, kailangan siguro relevant siya. Parang, that was the line that you drew, the line that you drew, na parang, nga no, parang siguro kailangan relevant naman. Kung maglalagay na rin tayo at pinapanood na rin naman tayo ng mga tao, bakit hindi tayo maglagay ng something relevant? Siguro yun yung nakuha ko, it's a big community and nung binuo nyo na yung community na yon katulad nga ng sinabi ni Pia, teka lang, parang ang dami na natin na-reach na audience. Baka dapat maging inclusive na nga tayo kasi ito yung mga hindi na natin na-reach before. Bakit ba ang sungit natin, ang mahal ng ticket natin, maraming di nakakapanood. Ngayon, pwede palang libre. Tapos, mas maraming makakaintindi na ano ba itong pinaggagawa nila, di ba? I think that's another community that you're bringing in. And natutuwa ako na parang ganun nyo siya nababasa na dapat siguro mas maging inclusive tayo kung babalik tayo sa theater. And somehow we find ways to be more inclusive. Ang isa ko pang nakuha, ang ganda ng mga sinabi ninyo ay you were challenging traditional roles in theater. Tama ba ako? Like kunwari, pareho kayo nag-PM kayo. Minsan of course nag-overlap ang trabaho sa dulaang UP kasi nga kulang ng staff or minsan ikaw yung pinakamalapit doon sa sa artista or sa teacher o utusan ka. Hindi mo na ma-delegate kasi nga may sense of urgency. Tama ba ako? Ang maganda kasi doon, you were challenging in your online platform sa E-ntablado. Challenge nyo to and somehow dahil kulang-kulang pa kayo noon, parang teka, multi-hyphenated roles pa tayo. And ang pinakamaganda kong nakuha, kasi dati na pinag-usapan natin itong multi-hyphenated na PM ka na, SM ka na, director ka pa, set designer ka pa, because you were doing it in your own home. Pero, ang nakita ko, meron kayong emphasis kanina sa, alam mo, importante ang manager. Diba, sa bawat production na ginagawa nyo, ang una nyong nilagay is not an actor. It's not the playwright. It's not the play. But the manager. Kasi parang sinasabi nga nila, nakausap namin, actually, kasama nyo dito sa buong brown bag session na to, si China Rojas, ang sabi niya nga, ang managers ang tutulong sa atin kung paano i-organize ang ating, kung ano mang ginagawang art form natin ngayon, dito, para matawid itong pandemic, or at least makita natin saan tayo papuntang form. At napaka-importante nung sinabi ninyong, oo nga no, kailangan muna natin ng manager kasi ang gulo-gulo-gulo natin at hindi natin alam kung paano patatakbuhin to. Napaka-importante rin siguro, kaya rin siguro nag-emerge tong form na to para sa aking reading ay, kasi walang teachers. We are not there, di ba, to police you or at least support you. We were there kasi may mga tanong ka lang naman sa akin, Camilo, di ba? Like, kilala niyo po ba si ganitong playwright? Kilala niyo po ba? And then I just connect you. Kasi as much as possible, kami rin, ang point namin ay, you're doing your own thing, kaming faculty members, gagalaw din kaming sarili, we are doing our own creative work, hanap kami, connect kami sa ibang tao. Ang maganda, nagkaroon ng parang spirit of, eto nga yung sabi ni Brian, na bumabalik yung spirit of volunteerism. So, parang nagvo-volunteer kayong gawin yung mga project. Parang ngayon ko lang ulit na rinig yung term na passion. So, parang naging passion project siya. At nagkaroon kayo ng agency as students na parang, I think this is how we want to do it. And ito yung parang, kumbaga, nagkaroon kami ng silip. Ito yung glimpse namin as faculty members na, ito pala yung chismisan ninyo pag wala kami. Ito pala yung gusto ninyong changes when it comes to theater. Na hindi namin napapakinggan because we only see you sa FOH. Hi ma'am, hello, ganun lang. Or ma'am, may kailangan ka ba? And we never see you in this light. Na kayo yung nagtitake charge na, you know what, we do this, we do that, tanggalin natin to. Yung ganon, yung kayo yung nagtitailor nung mismong production ninyo. Which is good kasi hindi namin kailangan mag-police as your moderator, as your teacher, as your advisor. Parang hinayaan lang namin kayo and you own this form. Kumbaga, hindi kami sisingit dito na, oy, ano yan turo yan ng UP. No, it's siguro may influence, but I think it's something that you created on your own. Maganda rin yung sinasabi ninyong yung advocacy kasi ang daming, ang yung pinaka-tagline nyo kaninang nakuha ko ay, you were looking out for each other. Which really works as a community. Kasi parang, sabi nga ni Pia, at ni Camilo, ikaw din, Camilo, sabi mo to, parang hindi natin alam kung theater ba to or film, pero bahala kayo, mag-focus kayo sa liveness o kung ano man. Mag-focus kayo kung anong theater para sa inyo, pero nag-adapt pa tayo or nire-redefine pa natin yung theater. Pero sa pagkakaintindi ko sa inyo, it's not just about the liveness, parang you want to keep yung feeling na liveness, kaya ginagawa siya sa FB Live, kahit na pre-recorded siya. Pero I think theater pa rin siya because you created this entire new community and you brought new communities with you para hasain tong ginagawa ninyo at maintindihan ano ba yung pinagdadaanan natin ngayon sa panahon ng pandemic. And somehow, kasabay nun ay, teka, paano ba natin mababago yung practice natin sa theater? Pangatlo, pag bumalik ba tayo sa feeling nating magiging normal, of course, hindi na siya katulad ng before. Pero ano yung natutunan natin na siguro magagamit natin para mas mag-focus sa humanity or at least we look out for each other. Parang bumalik sa ganong feeling yung theater na hindi siya about pagiging kapitalista na pagbe-business. Pero mas maging inclusive nga. Tapos yung community that you look out for each other and hindi lang among you students but kasama na dyan yung theater practitioners, scholars, and your teachers. And somehow kami rin natututo dito sa ganitong engagement natin. So again, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. I think this is a good thesis for you. Camilo, I hope you do this as a thesis. Pia, I hope you get something from this and sana mag-tag team kayo ni Camilo or something and we use this for your 198 next semester. Because, yun nga parang lagi nilang naiisip, after the performance, you just bow, di ba? Or you just, turn off the FB Live. Pero eto yun parang creative act pa rin tong pinag-uusapan yung mismong form. At sabi nyo nga, marami pang ma-explore. Andyan lang E-ntablado 3. I mean, kung nakatenga man siya. But we know it's going to be a different creature. Sabi nga, bagong creature siya ni Frankenstein, di ba? Parang di natin alam. Kasi from the first one na online reading, tas biglang nagkaroon ng forma, nung pangalawa na may advocacy na siya. Yung pangatlo, hindi natin alam. Because sabi nyo nga, nag-a-adjust din kayo kung ano nangyayari sa labas. So, we don't know what's going to happen. Pero I hope you will inspire more people, encourage more students to do what you're doing, and to actually encourage them to embrace the meaning of community na naaral natin sa theater. So do you have any last words for the students out there before we close this session? Wala na.
Yeah.
Ako naman. No. Shy na. Para sa mga students, especially theater students, I think one thing that people think of theater students or art students na lang in general is that parang yung walang kwenta, yung arts career or yung arts field or yung theater field na hindi ka makikita dyan. But I think it's really important that as students as early as now, I think it's really important to remind them na I think it's really important to remind them na what they want to do is valid. And it's really important to raise up more and more artists, because as impractical of course some people would say arts is, I think it's really important it plays a really important role in society, because ayun nga, it serves other people as a way for opening their eyes to what's happening now, and to also kind of give them a new meaning as to what life is. Ang corny, no? Pero I think it's really important to raise up and encourage more students who want to express themselves artistically. Yun lang.
Yeah. So mine is just theater is a family. Even if maraming away, even if maraming chismis, maraming drama, like with all the issues that happen in our own theater, in our own small or big or different theater communities, we know that theater is always going to be there, and the people in theater are always going to be there for you. I think that's what myself as a person, my personal goal also is, especially here in UP, is that we really become a family, because the theater family here needs to really be strong. We're the only ones who can help one another. We're the only ones who really understand what each person is going through, and how difficult theater may be, and how difficult it is. And you need that strong support system. You need that strong group and community to be there for you. And my message is, there is a community here in theater. There's a community here in UP, and there's more and more people who will always be there for you, and who will always support you and give you platforms and help you learn and make you grow as a theater practitioner. So, yeah.
Thank you, Camilo and Tia from E-ntablado, for sharing your brown bag session sa Emergency Theater and Performance. Oh, magkapangalan tayo. Emergency Theater and Performance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Another project has ended, but it is with pride that this brown bag online forum on emergency theater and performance was realized, and many of you were able to attend it. This forum, which focused on possibilities and problems of theater and performance in this time of the pandemic, tackled a wide range of issues, and we are thankful to the speakers who shared their valuable knowledge and experience. From new and emergent performance forms and ways of exploring possibilities of online and digital modalities, especially on the learning and teaching of theater and performance, onto the state of artist welfare during this global health crisis, the topics opened windows of possibilities and opportunities. They enrich our knowledge on issues in theater and performance in this time of COVID. One of the sectors in the society that has been heavily impacted by this pandemic is the theater and entertainment industry. So this forum is very relevant and timely to reflect on how these matters are being dealt with and to give us insights on how to stay afloat despite the huge challenges that we have to face. I thank all the speakers who generously shared their valuable knowledge and experience on the various topics that were shared on this forum. I will give a special shout out to my former student, Mr. Robert Arlo de Guzman. Thanks, Arlo, for joining this very important activity. And most of all, I thank the organizers of the forum, our ever-energetic and hardworking faculty of the Theater Division of the Department of Speech, Communication, and Theater Arts, led by Assistant Professor Olivia Nieto. We are also grateful to the UP Diliman Office for Initiatives in Culture and the Arts, or OICA, for their support in this project. I hope that the knowledge gained and the valuable lessons learned from these lectures will help us navigate during these difficult times. May we overcome this with hope in our hearts and trusting that this too shall pass. Mabuhay kayo.